Let's talk tourism.
All right, Hans Pfister is the co-founder of Central America's premier hotel management company, Cayuga Hospitality, for more than 2 decades. Is that right, Hans?
Yes.
They have been pioneers in sustainable upscale hospitality. He manages some of the best boutique hotels all over Central America. Hans is not one to brag, so I'll do it for him. He's soon to enter Cornell's prestigious Hospitality Hall of Fame. Hans, let's talk tourism.
Hi, Casey. Thanks for having me on. I think it's the third time, right? You've been doing this for a while.
It could be. It could be.
Yeah.
So, I
Well,
mean,
thanks for bringing me back. I guess that's a good sign.
yeah, you're like the Dom DeLuise to Johnny Carson, I guess. Maybe Sinatra. Maybe Sinatra would be a better analogy. So, pandemic, then recovery. Where are we now?
Yeah. You tell me. I mean,
No, you tell me,
I,
please.
I think we're like in a very erratic state of affairs. It's really hard to read what's going on, and in the revenue management meetings with my team, we're like, wait, this looks great. This looks not so great. Well, this looked great last week, and now it's not looking great, and it's just really hard to make sense out of all these mixed signals that we're picking up, and yeah, I think it's not bad. I'm not complaining. We're still having a best year ever. One more after the pandemic, year after year, 2021, 22, et cetera, et cetera. But it's definitely a little. It takes more work, right?
Harder.
Before it kind of just fell into everybody's lap. Now you got to work for it. You really have to do your homework, and it is important that in the last 2 years you really invested in right now. Otherwise, probably right now you're starting to feel some pain, I would
Mhm.
say.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment, right? Have you noticed a return to some sense of seasonality?
Oh, for sure. I mean, uh, seasonality is back, especially the September October months. And that it's been something that's been around for a long time. But once again, very erratic. So for example, I just got back yesterday from Panama, and in Isla Palenque, we have our best October ever. Like close to 70% occupancy. Why? I don't know. Like I talked to guests, and they're all like, "No, we just wanted to get away. We love the idea of being on this island and all of that." And then I have Monteverde. All the hotels in Monteverde probably had one of the lowest September October in the history. Afterwards. So, uh, you know, of course, we have Aguas Claras on the Caribbean coast, where September October is like a mini high season. So things were great there, or things are great there. But it's just really hard to find a just one single trend. So there's like all these micro trends coming together, and I think that's where we are. It's just really hard to make sense of it.
Hmm. On the topic of trends, in the last 10 years, or even pre-pandemic to post-pandemic, what are the habits of travelers that you've seen change? And what is changing right now?
Hmm. Well, I think post-pandemic, it was this revenge travel. Give me your best room, book me your best meal, whatever it costs. I don't care. Nobody asks for discounts. So I think we're back to normal. People saying, "Hey, what value do you offer? What can you do for me? What can you offer me?" So I think that's a little bit back. I think people are conscious of, or appreciative of quality. They really appreciate when something is done right, and something is delivered right, and people care, and people take their time to take care of them or solve a problem that they have something. So I think people honor true hospitality. That's something that I definitely see when I'm at the hotels, and I talk to people. Um, I yeah, there was this thing about sustainability, like just coming out of the pandemic, it was like, okay, now this is the time for sustainability. Everybody has to be sustainable, and that's the big trend, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, I've been in sustainable hospitality for 30 years. So it's definitely not a trend for us. It's something that's just in our DNA that we do. It's the Cayuga way is to run hotels in a sustainable way because it's the only way it makes sense to us to be in the communities, to be in the natural places that we operate. But a lot of people said, okay, we have to get on that bandwagon, so they try to be as sustainable as they can. And in some cases, it turned into greenwashing. And then what I've seen also is in some cases, there was actually a turnaround. There's a little bit of sustainability fatigue. Some people are like, I don't want to hear this anymore. I'm sick and tired. Even though there's a couple more hurricanes blowing over me, and there's really clear signs that things are not great, but some people are just sick and tired of dealing with problems or hearing about problems. So we've never used sustainability in a way that we scolded people. You can't do that. You have to do this. You have to do that. No, it's more about inspiring them, taking them on our back of the house sustainability tour, sharing our stories of the differences we've made in the community with the people and all of that. And yeah, so I think it was a trend. I think it's not as big of a trend. It's still there. And definitely for us, it's not going to go away because we've been doing it for 30 years and we're going to do it for the next 30 years.
I've often wondered in terms of traveler tastes and wants. Now that we're all traveling with our own devices all the time, tablets and phones and whatnot, are we going to get to a point where there's no longer a television in the room?
Funny you say that. We had that discussion on Wednesday at Finca Lerida. So this is a hotel we've taken over early in the year. It's not part of the Cayuga Collection yet because it's a 3-star hotel, so it's not up to par with our other hotels, but we're right now making the investments to bring it up to that level. And it has TVs because at 3-star level, typically hotel rooms have TVs. But we're actually discussing that most likely in the next 1 to 2 years, those TVs are going to come out, and we won't have TVs anymore in the rooms because, yes, people have their own devices. Currently, in all the Cayuga Collection hotels, only one hotel still has TVs, and we might be getting rid of them.
Interesting. Any other design considerations that you see changing similar to that?
Casey, sorry, I need to close something here. You can cut this, right?
Sure.
Okay, 1 second.
No worries.
With the window open and my wife is playing with the dog.
Yeah, and it's pouring over here. So are there other design considerations that you guys are making either around remodels or in discussing new properties similar to why do we need TVs anymore? Any other big change?
Not sure big change. I think we have upgraded our properties a lot right after the pandemic. We really invested because prices went up. People were willing to pay more, but we then decided, okay, if prices go up, we also have to follow with the product. We can't just charge more for the same thing. So we did invest a lot, but I think it's simple. It's not complicated stuff. It's not filling the room with stuff.
Right.
On the contrary, it's maybe getting rid of stuff. We mentioned the TV, and then have things on demand when people ask for it. But uncluttering is probably something that we've done, and then just what is there is really top quality. So focus on that.
Back to the theme of sustainability. You guys have always been on the forefront of sustainability, but that term I think means a lot of different things to a lot of different people.
Yeah.
Was there an experience or a moment in time when you changed your approach to sustainability?
I guess when I first started, in my first work in sustainability was managing the Hampton Inn at the airport here in San Jose. This was 1995, 1996. So obviously it was the basics, right? Get rid of the little shampoo bottles, start recycling in the rooms, in the hotels, get rid of styrofoam, plastic, etc. Sounds simple and very straightforward. I'm surprised a lot of people still haven't gotten even to that stage. But that was like the basic. Over the years, I think we've even every time more focused on two concepts. One is local, and the other one is people. So we're ultra local in the food, the drinks, the people we employ, the sense of place, the decor, the materials we use. So the more local we can be, the more sustainable we are, I think. And then the other thing is about people, because we realize that without the people, you can't be truly sustainable. You can do all the lead buildings in the world, but if people don't turn off the lights or open the windows and turn on the air conditioning, or just throw the trash out of the window, then it doesn't work. So there's always a people component there. So we've really invested in the people, and within the investment of the people in the communities. And I think that's our approach to sustainability. If you ask me, it's local and people.
Well, you're reading my mind here. One of the things that I've always felt that sets Cayuga properties apart are the people. So what specifically, or what is unique to Cayuga that you guys are doing to develop such great staff?
Yeah. Yeah, I think we've created a culture over many years where people just feel valued. They feel they can say their opinion, that can make mistakes, and they can just be passionate about hospitality and do their job, and also be passionate about sustainability. But I think it's what's really important is we don't hire expats, right? So in all of our hotels, you only find locals, and that's not just the gardener and the maids and the maintenance workers. That's the chef, the manager, reservations. Everybody's local. What that does is that it creates a culture of the guy that just started as a receptionist saying, if that girl started as a receptionist 10 years ago, and then 10 years later, she became general manager of this hotel, that's a motivation for me. Or if my boss, who's the operations manager, started here as a gardener or started another hotel as a construction worker building the hotel, there's an opportunity for me. So I think that really creates a very unique culture. But in order to make that work, we need to invest a lot in training and development. So for example, we have something called Cayuga University. So we meet. This year was what, 5-6 times a year for 2 or 3 days, and we go to university, right? It's classes, it's sharing experiences, it's lectures, it's group work, it's all these things. And after those 3 days, everybody comes out pumped up. Like, okay, I learned about food and beverage, I learned about human resources, I learned about how to be a manager, marketing and sales, and so we're creating this incredible knowledge among our middle management that then allows them to go on these career paths that we offer to get better. So I think that that creating opportunities is what makes a difference.
Yeah, I mean, and part of what I love about tourism is seeing that upward mobility. It's pretty incredible how someone can start maybe even as a maid or carrying suitcases and end up running a hotel. And it happens. Have you had some of those incredible stories where someone started at entry level and ended up at or near the top?
Absolutely. I mean, many, and one that's I mean, if you stay in Stenda in Monteverde, most likely you run into Alan. Alan started as a gardener in Arenas del Mar, and then worked his way up through different departments, moved over to Aguas Claras on the Caribbean coast in a food and beverage position, and now for a couple of years is an operations manager at Senda. And I am quite sure that in the next few years, when something opens up for him, he'll become a general manager. So yes, that's just one story. We have many more.
I think it's interesting. It's very easy to say when you're running an organization, but when you're starting out in an organization, I don't think most people understand that upper management, executive level people are desperately looking for talent. We're desperately looking for the rising stars. So this notion that, that there's a glass ceiling in tourism is incredibly false.
Yeah,
Any good manager, leader, you name it, is desperately scanning their entire organization and their competitors
yeah,
for hidden or undervalued talent.
yeah, yeah.
Um, we all have shortcuts, I think, for analysis. Some that take years and years to form, like a builder's rules of thumb. What are the first things you notice when you walk into a hotel to judge whether or not it's well run?
I think it's details. When I see that there's just stuff lying around that shouldn't be around, when there's something that's kind of loose or not fixed. So I think by the maintenance of a hotel, that's a pretty important first indicator. And then it's also when it's cluttered, when there's just a lot of stuff, everywhere, and then it tells me that nobody has the feels that they have the authority to make a decision and get rid of that stuff because we don't really need that and nobody uses it and it looks bad and everything. So I think that's like the first impression on the physical side. And then of course it's what does that person at the reception look like, or what that person in security, like you come to a hotel and they make it really hard for you to get into the hotel and treat you really like a criminal. Like, really? Okay, so it's the first treatment that you get from staff that obviously sets the tone for everything else. And then I get to go to a lot of hotels that might be interested in our services or interested in some consulting. So then when I really see what's going on is when I go to the back of the house, right? When I open a closet or a bodega, like a storage facility or a fridge. And this is the moment of truth, right? When you then see, oh my God, I don't think I'm going to stay here for lunch. I think I'm going to buy a sandwich somewhere else.
Do you have a
Or
Gordon Ramsay catchphrase like "It's raw" that you yell when you're looking around?
no, I don't. I don't have that.
These
But
these sheets have not been changed.
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. No, I don't have a like a golden thing. It's really case to case. Everything is so different, and now that we're operating in four different countries, of course, then there's that level of complexity on top of that. But you can tell pretty fast what's going on in a hotel, if it's well run, if it's um, yeah. I mean, it takes 5 minutes.
I was in one recently that you'll be interested to hear about, where I got the distinct sense that the staff was miserable. How do you know when there's a staff issue? What are the vibes you get, or the immediate no's that you receive to know that, like, oh, this team is not happy here.
Yeah. um, it's definitely, you can tell by body language. They're typically sitting, like this. They're not. If somebody sits at the reception or is at a, they're not, or the waiters are staying in this, standing in a corner, kind of hiding. It's kind of this. It's like an animal, right? If you're not well, you kind of hide, or you try
Yeah.
kind of, you have a certain body language. So that for sure. And then what definitely happens when a hotel's not well run, all these fights between people. People just fight, and it's this backstabbing and everything. And again, we took over a hotel recently in Panama where we found exactly that. We ran into that, and it was, wow, amazing. And yesterday when I left that hotel to come back to Costa Rica, there was a woman that works in the coffee shop. She's probably in her late 50s, mid 50s, and she's been working there for 25 years. And she thanked me and said, wow, what a difference. This feels so
Wow.
different. It's not only that the hotel looks different because we've done all these investments, but the vibe, right? The way people talk to each other.
Yeah.
Whenever when something's not working, I ask for somebody in maintenance and they don't yell at me. They come and help me and then find something else and fix that as well before I have to ask for it. It's just a whole different vibe. And then people, like get up and actually are proactive, walking towards you, helping you before you even know that you need help. And that's where the change happens. That's where the magic happens. And that's where, like, makes me happy. It makes me really, really happy when that happens.
Yeah, it's an amazing difference, right? And I think sometimes, and maybe even specific to Panama, they fall in love with the square footage and the materials when the hotel is made or broken by the people, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You mentioned four countries: Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Guatemala.
We started this week with Guatemala. We have a new
Fantastic.
record that we're just, I just come out of the the meeting of coordination. The team members are going next week. We're again, it's a transition, so it's an existing property, and we have to do that same transition of that we did in Panama. We're very excited about it. It's an amazing property, very, very nice, committed owners that just need a little bit of expertise, and help in putting it together. And I know in a year, this hotel is going to be top of the charts in Central America.
I love Guatemala. I feel like that's the oso buco of Central America tourism, in that once you've worked down here for a while, that's what the chefs like to eat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the weird, unique. You still feel like Gulliver's Travels there. It's so different.
Yeah.
Would you ever consider El Salvador, Honduras, or Belize?
If you would have asked me 2 or 3 years ago about Guatemala, I would have said, I'm not sure. It changed. So
Yeah.
now, yes. So I think lesson learned, never say no. Um, yeah, I mean, Belize definitely sounds interesting. There's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit hesitant about Honduras and El Salvador at this point in time for
Yeah.
different reasons. But again, never say no. So we'll see. But right now I think we're busy. Learning a new country. Just making this happen. So we're going to focus on that, and then we'll take it from there.
Interesting. I only have one question left. What are your bold predictions for Costa Rica and Central America tourism in 2025? Crystal ball time.
The thing is, making bold predictions about Costa Rica, I don't know, because Costa Rica is always kind of, smooth. It's not really, there's, thank God, compared to other places in the world, it's actually pretty easygoing, pretty calm, pretty pura vida. So I don't think I have any bold predictions for Costa Rica tourism, with the exception maybe that I'm very curious what's going to happen with the with the house rental market. I think that there's something interesting that happened, during and after the pandemic, of a lot of people coming to Costa Rica, falling in love, buying property, building a home, and saying, "Oh, I just build it, and then I stay there a couple of weeks during the year, a couple of months, and then I just put it on Airbnb, and it pays for itself." I think a lot of people had the same idea, so maybe there's too much supply now. Maybe it's going to be a little bit harder to make that work. It definitely can eat into some of the hoteliers' occupancy. So there's this whole question of regulating it with what's going on across the world. We're still not able in Costa Rica, which is really sad, to even charge taxes on people renting these homes or these apartments. So I think that's something that probably will be on the agenda and will maybe ruffle some feathers on different parts. So in Costa Rica, that would be that would be my prediction that something's going to happen there. In terms of Central America, I definitely see in Panama, I see a lot of potential. I mean, Panama better than I do, and you know that as well. So I'm curious to see if they get their act together as a country. I had a meeting on Monday in Promtur, to see if they're able to move away from trying to attract cheap shopping tourism and
Right.
actually focus on adventure luxury tourism. But we'll see where that goes, right? You know, so but I believe Panama has a lot to offer and has a lot of interesting destinations. And yeah, I don't really see any major changes in 2025. I think it's more of what we already talked about in the beginning. There's going to be some erratic, market, some months are going to be good or bad. Like if I look for like my forward bookings, April looks off the charts good. Why? Because Semana Santa is in the third week of April, so that makes a big difference. But it's just these things that happen every so often, and then next year's is probably going to be the second week of March, and then we're going to have a bad April again. Who knows?
Well, Hans, always appreciate your input. We love working with your properties. So more please, faster please. Until we speak again.
Thanks, Casey. I
Thank you,
appreciate
sir.
having me on your program, and anything you need, you know where to find me.
Let's talk tourism.